Welcome back, everybody, to the fourth episode of It's Called Football. As always, I'm here, Jerry Walker, and alongside me is Will Scott. Will, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm great. Ready to see United win this weekend.
Yeah, big match for you guys, which we will definitely talk on a bit later against Liverpool. But Liverpool played yesterday as well. So, kind of before we look at what's upcoming, what do you think of their match against Wolves yesterday? A 2-0 win seemed relatively straightforward.
Well, as I've now sort of taken it upon myself to become the relegation, get really involved in the relegation battle, and
I
I
don't
haven't
know.
in years past. I was almost more interested in the Wolves aspect of it more than
Yeah.
anything. Um, they started off like they had a good first half. They're pressing well, but they just couldn't figure out how to progress the ball in the final third. I think Liverpool really were helped out by Diogo Jota being back. I think he's a huge. I've got just athletes at the front three who can run and press and cause a lot of issues for teams who aren't as adept at playing out from the back. Jota's a fantastic presser. Nunes as well. Obviously, maybe he's not quite as refined in his pressing, but he's like an unbelievable athlete. Salah, obviously,
Stay
thrived
scoring.
for years in those Gegan pressing systems. But yeah, I guess Wolves really just, as it has been for a few times this season, looked really off in the second half. They were very easy to play through and eventually came. It's a shame. I would have loved to have seen Liverpool, struggle, but now they are sixth
Yes,
with
they
a game
are.
in hand on Fulham. Although Brighton has 2 games in hand, I don't know what Brighton's been doing. Guess what? They got fucked by. They've only played 22 games this season.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah. But then you look at Newcastle, fifth place. They have a game in hand over Liverpool. So
Yeah,
it's
but
going to be
new.
interesting. This
Yeah.
weekend's match is going to be very, very important for that Champions League placing. But as far as Wolves go, they look like they could be. We were saying earlier this week in our third episode that they kind of this is their chance to break away from the rest of that relegation pack, and they sure
Mm.
enough haven't. Losing now, they now have played one more match than both West Ham and Leeds, and only sit 2 points ahead. So if both of those teams were to win somehow this weekend, this would see Wolves be that first team out of the relegation zone, which is
Yeah.
never where you want to see your team at or any
Well,
team.
they're playing Tottenham and Newcastle next, which
So
is
that could be at least
yeah.
three straight losses.
And then fortunately they do have Leeds, Nottingham Forest, and then it's going to be weird to say it's Chelsea. So three pretty winnable fixtures
Yes, they are.
over the next 3 games. Um, so once they ride out this bad part, I think these Leeds and Nottingham Forest games are going to be really important 6 pointers,
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
and boost themselves. Because I honestly think they're better than both Leeds and Nottingham Forest. Sorry,
No,
Jerry. Uh,
I agree with you. I think Wolves are just a little bit better than both of those, or than all really the five bottom teams. I think they're better than.
yeah. And obviously there was the Arsenal game. We don't need to speak about that. It was just sort of
That was
Everton
quite
had
one
40
sided.
minutes of quite good defensive resilience. They got the ball up, but with no DCL, they have no outlet, and they're still liable to make the odd boneheaded mistake. This isn't like a Brentford side we're speaking about where they're defensively resolute. This is an Everton side.
That
Like it
they'll
was, I think it
bend,
was.
and as soon as they break, it's over.
Yeah, what was that? What was that? That second goal? Who was it? There was one midfielder who just got caught making a boneheaded
Ooh,
decision, and I was
yeah,
like,
it
"What the
didn't.
fuck are you doing?"
Yeah,
Got caught straight on the ball, got pressed it straight to Martinelli. I mean, there's only so much Deitch can do, especially when they didn't invest at all
yep.
in January. Like this squad really needs just quality, and sort of they don't have that.
Yeah,
They
I mean they're still playing Neil Maupay up top, and I mean
one
they're
goal in 17.
yeah, their front three against because they played a 4-3-2-1. That front three: Dwight McNeil, Alex Iwobi, and Neil Maupay. You're not getting many goals from that.
Yeah, well,
Like,
yeah.
especially
I
against.
still believe in Dwight McNeil,
Oh,
at least in terms of being able to whip one in, but
it's
no,
not
not too.
consistent enough at all for them.
Yeah,
But Arsenal with the win, what they go 5 points clear of Man City, I believe, level
yeah.
on matches played. So
Both these sides, like City, have just been so wasteful.
yeah,
Like that loss versus Tottenham, that draw versus Nottingham Forest, like it's really like even drawing with Leipzig, like only beating Bristol 3-0, like it was 1-0 for most of the game.
mm,
Um, City definitely look. This isn't going to be a classic title race. It's sort of like
no.
both teams sort of dropping points here or there, because
gonna,
Arsenal still have to play some tricky games.
yeah, I mean the two of them still have to play each other at the end of April, so that'll be a big 6-pointer. I do like looking at Man City's fixtures after that Arsenal match. It looks very favorable. Away to Fulham, and then home to Leeds, at Everton, home to Chelsea, and at Brentford.
I think
That's
both
where
of them have got pretty good run-ins
Arsenal
from what
does
I
as
remember.
well.
Yeah.
That's where we could see the difference is that if they stay relatively close going into that match where they play each other, after that it could be not necessarily who's going to win the most, it's who's going to drop points and who's going to fuck up here and there. So,
Well, looking as well, there's that Newcastle versus Arsenal fixture where Arsenal have to go to St James's Park,
yeah,
and if there's pressure on them to have to get 3 points, that could be really stressful. And there's a Brighton game. The only two games which look like they could drop points at all after the City game would be away at Newcastle and at home to Brighton.
yeah, I agree with that. But I will say, I mean, it is a London rivalry, Chelsea Arsenal, and you know how excited the Chelsea fans and players would be if they can ruin Arsenal's hope for a league title.
As a 1-0 Arsenal win written all over it.
Oh, absolutely. Chelsea's gonna park the bus when he's some late. Saka or Martinelli will score in the second half, and that'll be it. But
Yeah.
no, but back to kind of what's happened recently. Last only two matches on Wednesday, which was yesterday as we are recording on Thursday, March 2nd, but both straightforward. So we'll kind of move on to some of the more, I guess there's some news recently. Not a lot gone on.
I just saw something as well. Apparently, FIFA might scrap the three groups of three. So obviously, when they're moving to 48 teams, they're going to move it to 16 groups of three. But because the group stage went so well, they might move it back to 4 games, which would be great. It'd be like one of the only examples of FIFA seeing everyone liking something and doing that rather than just sticking to their guns and doing something no one wanted. So that's exciting.
And that's for the World Cup, I believe, in 2026. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Because, I mean, it was so exciting watching the final group stages when all teams are playing simultaneously. If it goes to 3 teams, that means one of the teams is already done. So the other 2 can not necessarily collude with each other. But when 2 of the 3 teams go through, you'll know exactly what result you need to get through and
I don't know how
teams out. So
I don't know how that would work.
But I mean, there was one point, I believe it was Group E, where there was a period of time where Japan was going through as the top, Costa Rica was second, then Spain and Germany.
That was wild.
For that 4-minute stretch, that would have been the craziest finish to a group stage I think the World Cup would have ever seen. But still entertaining. Anytime the Germans go out in the group stage.
Yeah, Costa Rica was up 2-1, and then they
collapsed.
And then they collapsed. Yeah.
But,
God, that would have been so much fun.
Oh, could you have imagined? I mean, we saw what Costa Rica did in 2010. England, Italy, 2014. Yeah. England, Italy, and Uruguay. And sure enough, it's Costa Rica that won the group.
Yeah.
It's another World Cup we try and forget. But no, otherwise, news-wise around the Premier League, I haven't seen a ton this week. Ivan Toney is one of the bigger stories, I guess, where he's been found guilty and he's admitted to breaching the FA's sports betting policy. I believe he was found with 262 infringements, which that's not great by any means.
I don't know what he was thinking. My man's had a absolute. Look, I think it's unfair what's happened to him. You know, it is. I don't know the full story, and you probably know better than me. But it just feels a bit so harsh.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you can't really bet on matches, but also at the same time, we don't know exactly how in depth. What was he betting? Was he
betting on himself? I think that's the key thing, right? If he was betting on other teams, like who cares? But if he's betting on himself, then obviously there's a conflict of interest there. It
goes back to at least the U.S. audience. I don't know how much you know about Pete Rose. Have you ever heard of Pete Rose? So an old MLB player, I believe. I think he's the all-time hits leader, actually, which I should know that more than I do. I don't follow baseball as closely. But this guy's should be in the Hall of Fame, but he was betting on games that didn't even involve his own team. And if they were involving his own team, it was just him betting on his team to win. Because why
Yeah.
would you bet on your team to lose? That's when
Yeah.
it becomes an issue. If you're betting on
Yeah.
your team to win, I personally
Yeah.
see no issue with it. But he's pretty much been boycotted from the Hall of Fame as the
Wasn't that
MLB's all-time hit leader.
wasn't there another, like, there was an NFL wide, like Calvin
Oh,
Ridley.
Calvin Ridley,
He
yeah,
got banned as well for a year. But
yeah.
like,
Which
I know
is
it
if you're
feels really odd to me.
if you're betting on specific like little details, like oh, I'm betting under this many yards on myself to receive, then it's an issue. Because at that point you're just stopping and going backwards or lateraling the ball, doing something to avoid it. But in Ivan Tony's case, one we don't know the absolute details, but 262 counts. That means something bad happened. I know Daniel Sturridge in 2019 was suspended for originally 6 weeks. It was given a 4 week acceptance or something, so he only had to do a 2 week suspension. But that was for betting on being found guilty betting on 2 of 11 infringements.
Well, here's the other example I've seen. Kieran Trippier. This is one I was trying to
Oh
remember.
yeah,
Told his mates, I think, to bet on his transfer from Tottenham to Atletico.
yeah,
He got banned for 10 weeks.
yes, I saw that.
Um,
The big one, which I don't know if you would have remembered this, but Joey Barton
oh
in
yeah,
2016. So for over a 10-year stretch from 2006 to 2016, he placed over damn near 1,300 bets on
jeez,
games. He was suspended for 18 months. So
yeah.
I don't know
I
how
don't
long
fuck about
this.
with this.
No, they don't. Which I think it's crazy considering how big, especially in the U.S. and as I know it is in England, all the shirt sponsors are sports
But
betting.
yeah,
But
it feels hypocritical.
yeah,
But they're very okay with like them sponsoring stadiums, sponsoring. And look, there are ethical issues. Like a lot, it is important to remember that gambling can ruin people's lives.
yeah,
And constantly having that promoted by the Premier League, it just feel and like even the Championship, it's the Sky Bet Championship. Like they're very okay with taking money from these companies. Um, but they're not okay with their own players doing it. It just feels really hypocritical, and yeah, I don't like it.
and
But it's,
I will say on like that kind of note, there I have read some stuff on Twitter, so it's all that, so it's not 100% guaranteed or 100% going to happen. But I've seen stuff about the Premier League is potentially, and they've talking about banning the gambling shirt sponsors, which then I understand if they're trying to push all the betting away. But
yeah,
at the
it
time
feels
where
yeah,
at the time where
morally
six of
inconsistent.
the seven or like
Yeah,
7 or 8 teams in the 20 team league are all
yeah.
having gambling company sponsors, it's a little hypocritical to say the
So
least.
yeah, and before every Premier League game, they'll have at least in England, they'll have a Sky Bet ad because of Sky.
Yep.
They'll have like William Hill ads like in half time. They'll just have constant like ads, and betting will be in your face the entire time. But the minute like an actual player does it, it's like, nope, we do not like that. But
Yeah.
anyway,
It's kind of crazy, a little extreme to say the
yeah,
least, but
yeah.
I guess that's business to an extent. Well, I mean, otherwise, have you seen much other news recently? We talked a little bit about Erling Haaland, but
Oh yes,
can,
I just saw today that Haaland's agent has been flirting with Real Madrid, which is really funny. I think, um, apparently, like, because I think personally, someone like Mbappe would be amazing at Real. I'd rather see Mbappe at Real Madrid just because of like, the whole Galactico vibe. Like, I think he's such a big moments player. I think he would really suit Real Madrid right now. Imagine a Vinicius one side, Mbappe the other side, Benzema. Benzema's getting on a little bit,
but
and maybe
still,
Haaland would work as. But I think they need someone a bit sort of better in the build-up than Haaland after Benzema retires. So
I'd say Haaland's just a finisher to an extent.
yeah,
He's not going to necessarily create the plays, which
yeah,
is why he's thrived so much in Man City, in my opinion, is he has
yeah.
De Bruyne feeding him. He's got Gundogan. He's got Bernardo Silva, Foden, all these players creating the plays. And then he's just there to do what he needs to do and put the ball in the back of the net, which
Yeah.
is
Like,
exactly what he's
I
done
don't
all
want to like take.
season.
Excuse me. I don't want to take too much away from the man because he's
Oh,
not,
no.
obviously he's a freak athlete
Oh,
and like
absolutely.
he can back up players and be a bit of a target man as well if you need him, and he can press really high, and he's not just useless when apart from putting the ball in the back of the net. But it feels like you'd want some a bit more. You'd want a Benzema type If you're going to have Mbappe and Vinicius.
Mm.
I think I'd rather have that than Haaland and, I don't know, maybe a more creative winger out on the side. Um, I wonder if they ever go in for like someone like Bukayo Saka or something like that. You don't see many
Oh,
Real Madrid really going for the top English players
no.
since like Beckham and Owen days, because neither of them had a particularly great career at Madrid. So I wonder whether they ever will.
Yeah,
Or Bellingham.
Bellingham's another one. But see, it goes back to kind of at least my thinking is, you look at the England national team for the World Cup. I believe all but like one, maybe two players. I know Bellingham, and there might have been another, and the rest of them all play in England.
Yeah.
So it's partially that, and I'm wondering if, say, the English players don't necessarily want to go play in other countries because that might risk their or hurt their chances of making that England national team.
I
Don't
think it's
know.
also like
It's definitely
little England, they want to go somewhere they can speak the language. People they're a bit,
yeah.
it's a bit more distrust. I don't know.
No,
I think Real Madrid has a certain appeal to maybe like Spanish, like maybe French or Italian players and South American players that it doesn't really have for the English.
mm,
Like it feels like, especially for South American players, everyone wants to go play for Real Madrid or Barcelona, especially for a
yeah.
lot of like continental Europe. There's a lot, but I don't think it quite has the same appeal for
Mm-mm.
players from England.
I
You never
wonder.
saw like Steven Gerrard or Frank Lampard or Wayne Rooney want to go there.
I wonder if that is partially as well that the Premier League is just significantly bigger to an extent,
Yeah,
especially on the financial side, than the rest
yeah,
of these leagues, where these guys can easily just play in arguably the best league in the world and
yeah,
still make millions here and there doing
yeah,
whatever that they might
yeah.
not be able to make as much in Spain.
I think Real Madrid would probably be okay. I think
Oh yeah,
Barcelona's their
those
financial.
yeah those
Well, I
two.
think Barca's financials might be in a bit a spot of bother. And there is a certain like allure to playing for Real Madrid, but I don't know. I think playing for a Man United or a Liverpool or an Arsenal, or I dread to say even a City or a Chelsea,
Mm,
just has more of an appeal. I think
yeah,
growing up,
no,
people cared in England. I think cared so there were no like Real Madrid or Barcelona
mm-mm,
fans knocking about at my school. It was all Chelsea, Arsenal, the odd United, Liverpool, um, maybe the odd Tottenham. There was
yes,
never any sort of. They never had any hold over like when you're kids. That's what really motivates you when you're older. Who you want to go to when you're a kid, and it's just not quite the same in England.
no, exactly. It's very, very different than the rest of Europe and even the world. So, but I guess there's not much else other news that I can think of that I've seen recently, unless there's anything else you have. Oh, not really. Sounds good. Then we will move on to our match of the week. We had a not really a debate on this, but there were two options: Man City, Newcastle, the oil rig derby.
Yeah.
But we went with a bigger rivalry: Liverpool, Man United, Sunday afternoon. It'll be 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. This will be entertaining because Liverpool needs 3 points here, in my opinion, if they're going to have
Yeah.
any run at making it to the Champions League
I
spot.
keep forgetting like that Liverpool aren't as low down as I thought. I keep just
Yeah,
assuming they're losing like every
no,
game, but
they're
they're still firmly in sixth, which is a shame.
yeah they
No, look,
haven't.
this is going to be such a huge game for us because we've had like games against better sides like Barcelona or whatever, but this is Anfield.
It
This is
doesn't
the
get much
biggest
bigger.
test. This is the
Yeah,
biggest test for United side. And look, we've had players who've done it all before. But it just feels like against Liverpool, we've just collapsed mentally so many times and just got absolutely smacked. I can't remember last year they put like 5 goals past us, 6 goals past
yeah,
us.
it was
Even
bad.
the Ollie season where we did quite well. I remember at the end of it we lost like 4-2 or something like that. We just sort of collapsed against Liverpool. It feels like
Yeah,
it's a
last
really good like opportunity for us to like stake our claim as like over that and as a mentally resilient. You saw that after the West Ham result. Saw Steve McLaren that sort of point his finger in Ten Hag's. That's like it was your winning mentality. That's what did it. Like it feels like Fergie again with people like Casemiro, Varane on the pitch, Martinez on the pitch. I mean, Fernandez on the pitch, Rashford on the pitch. We're never out of these games, and we've got like sort of that winning mentality, like to grind out these results. And I'd love to just grind. It doesn't need to be the most exciting or like. I just want something that'll shut the Anfield crowd up, like an early like Bruno chip over the top to Rashford, send
oh,
Van Dijk sort of his knees, his 50-year-old man knees, sort of scrambling back, see if he can catch him. I think they're really there to be got at. They've looked better recently. I think Jota's going to make them a lot better, especially out of possession. Firmino's back. He'll make them a lot better out of possession. So they're going to be able to press convincingly from the front. But their midfield just lacks so much athleticism. Harvey Elliott is a great technician. He's not an athlete. Like Stefan Bajcetic, I hope I say that name remotely right. He's 18. Like, and he got shown. He's had some good, flashes this season, but like, he got shown up in that Real Madrid game. He got shown up in a game of Real. So, like, it's never easy playing against Madrid, but that was like their first real test, and he failed quite miserably. So we'll see. I'd love for us to just bypass that first press, and I think we will, like we did against Barcelona. And this was actually the first time we tried this tactic against it. It worked wonders. Just hoof it up and chaos ball. Get Fred, Weghorst, Casemiro just running at Bajcetic, Elliott, Fabinho.
Just make them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Just put the pressure on Liverpool's youth to actually play the ball out.
And also, who's going to play at centre back? Is it going to be Matip or is it going to be Gomez? Because Gomez has been. Kanate is back. Okay, that's unfortunate.
That'll be a big help for Liverpool.
Kanate is fantastic. So that is a shame. Okay, that makes me slightly less confident.
But I mean, I will say, like, this is the first time we could actually see Man U get the double over Liverpool since the 2015-16 season, and that's just that kind of has just been that changing of the guard. Was Liverpool finally beat out Man U both times in the league, kind of have dominated mostly since then. I mean, last season won 4-0 and 5-0, but now it's kind of that pendulum swinging back to the favor of the other red team, Man U, and it's going to be interesting to say the least in terms of like how they both prepare for this and who is healthy for Liverpool, especially. And we could see a Nunez masterclass potentially, because I mean
he's not fun to play against. Like, he's such a sort of donkey, but he's such a pain. He's constantly running. He's constantly getting into great positions. He's constantly causing threat. He's starting to finally put it together in terms of finishing as well. He's just going to be a pain. I will say, I think we have two of the best centre-backs in the league. I worry about our ability to play out from the back. I think if we try to do that, Varane, for all his defensive qualities, is not comfortable on the ball, really. Dalot can play out from the back, but it's mainly going to be on Martinez and unsure, especially if Wan-Bissaka plays. And I'm not sure who's going to play yet. De Gea is obviously a liability on the ball. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of kicking long, pressing high, trying to get, and then just like transitioning quickly. Bruno balls into Sancho, Anthony. Maybe Garnacho comes on at 70 minutes and terrorizes Trent with his pace, because I'd really like to see that. Especially with Trent having a lot less defensive cover than he's had in years past. I'm excited for this game. I think we're going to really, really give it to him.
So what's your prediction then, score-wise, for this one?
I think Liverpool will go. I'll give it a 2-1. 2-1 United.
2-1 United. All right. Just to be contrary, I'll go 2-1 Liverpool.
Of course you would.
Realistically, the only way I see that happening is if we get a Mo Salah penalty at some point, and that back line does hold itself up against Man U. There have been occasions this season, and the Man U attack has just been, whether it's unlucky, they just haven't been finding the back of the net at times. And
I think since the World Cup, we've really switched.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's changed significantly, but
I think the Newcastle game showed as well and the West Ham game, we can generate goals from just scrappiness. Like, our goals against Newcastle and West Ham were not pretty at all. A lot of it was Weghorst getting in the way, just being a nuisance, like pressuring the defense, forcing errors. Obviously, West Ham is not the same as Liverpool, and Newcastle not the same as Liverpool. But we just need to worry for those spurts. Those spurts where they'll score one through some Nunez brilliance or like Salah brilliance. Anfield will start raring, and then we might start getting stressed out. Now, I don't think that'll happen, even if they do score, because I think Casemiro, Martinez, Varane have raised the standard so much that we're not going to collapse. But that's my only real worry, is that they'll start getting really up. It happened in the Everton game. Liverpool scored once, and then Everton looked so mentally out of it. I don't think that'll happen for us, but it's just the fans are going to be so up for it. We just need to
Oh,
we need to shut the
absolutely.
crowd down. I think that's going to be a huge part of it. It's like momentum in crowd. We just need something like Anthony's great at that with his little stupid tricks. He'll wind up the crowd. He'll
He'll,
keep the ball. He'll like
he'll get
I want
fouled,
some,
and the
yeah,
players will get annoyed on Liverpool. Fans will be annoyed, and he'll just keep doing that. And that's when Casemiro comes in and steadies the rest of the
yeah.
ship. And next thing you know,
We just need
Rashford's
some of that. I
scoring
think
again.
Anthony's good at that. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm very nervous, but I'm very excited. It's
Yeah.
probably the most nervous I've been for a game all season.
Oh, really? Because I mean, I guess looking at the table, there it's 10-point difference, but 6-point match here. So
Yeah.
we shall see. But that's our match of the week. Now we're going to hop into some of the other matches, starting out with the other one we were briefly talked about earlier, Man City and Newcastle. The early match on Saturday, the first match of the weekend. This one has this one could be close. I do still think Man City is by far a much better team, but the storyline's that it's the two Arab teams that going off against each other. But at least in my
I think it's
opinion,
going to be a really boring game, unfortunately.
you think so?
Newcastle are still a fantastic side defensively, and they did look good. They did create moments against us, especially through Alan St. Maximan. I just think structurally, City won't, especially at the Etihad. City won't let them get out of their own halves. Newcastle are going to defend well. They're going to frustrate them, but they just don't have that attacking sort of impetus since the World Cup. They've scored like I can't remember what the exact number is, but they've scored like a really
Not a lot.
significantly lower. They've been underperforming their XG a lot. Almiron has scored like 2 goals. Wilson's scored like one, and
Yeah.
hasn't played half the time. Or when he has, he's looked out of it.
So you don't think we'll be getting the classic that we did in the first match of the season where it finished
I do
3-all
not
at
think it'll be
St.
a classic.
James?
I do not think it will be a classic, unfortunately. I
Yeah.
think City are going to play controlled, calm. They're going to wait for their moment. They don't want to let them transition because just because Almiron's been underperforming his XG doesn't mean he's not a good player. They've still got St. Maximan, who's an unbelievable one-on-one dribbler. They'll probably stick Kyle Walker on him. They're going to want to limit the transition opportunities as much as possible. So it's going to be a lot of Mahrez, Grealish, Gundogan. I don't know. He'll probably play De Bruyne in that second number 10 spot, passing the ball around. Rodri. It's going to be a lot of that slow poking, trying to get Haaland, a lot of cut back to Haaland or something like that. It's going to be a lot of that, and Newcastle are going to be able to defend that completely fine. Shah has been great. Sven Botman's been one of the signings of the season. Obviously, Trippier's great. The sort of man mountain Dan Burn's been great. So it's going to be a lot of like solid defending and a lot of like slow possession, sort of trying to wear them down. Maybe the
Yeah.
odd ball through to Haaland, see what they can do. But I just think Pep's going to emphasize control a lot this game because of the up threat. Newcastle did pose in that reverse fixture and have posed in the past. The only way I could see maybe Newcastle grabbing a set piece goal, but even on that, they're massively underperformed. I saw something like they should have scored about 12 goals from set pieces. They've scored 6.
Yeah, that's not good enough for any team competing for that top four. The only thing that's going to be interesting to me is I just read that John Stones and Laporte are both doubtful for this
Oh,
match,
really?
which those are big losses, as well as Kyle Walker is, I believe, still injured. So
Oh, okay.
that could
Shit.
be a big loss for Man City in terms of
Yeah.
that. Nick Pope will be returning for Newcastle. I do think that was a big loss for them against in the EFL Cup. Not saying that they would have done any better, but it would have just been a little more security back there.
Yeah. I'll be very interested to see who Pep plays, and
Hmm.
I wonder if they'll. I reckon Rico Lewis will play. I wonder who
Oh,
will
I'm
play at
sure.
centre.
Because I mean,
Akanji,
yeah,
Ake, probably.
last against Bristol in the cup this week, they did a back three of Ake, Diaz, and Akanji.
Yeah, that probably makes the most sense to me. So
Yeah.
shit, I'm not a City fan, but Stones and Laporte are so excellent
Oh, they
playing
are.
out from the back, and so they're really quite important to what City wants to do. So maybe it'll force them to be a bit more direct. Have to bypass the Newcastle press a bit. I'm curious. It'll be interesting. I can see it. I can't see it being a particularly interesting game,
Yeah.
though. If I'm
Who?
honest,
No. Who do you think this match is bigger for? Because I mean, Man City
City.
5 points back of Arsenal, Newcastle 4 points back of Tottenham for a Champions League spot.
I think it's bigger for City.
City.
It's at home. Um, it's against like a team that's only conceded 15 goals. If they win this game, it's going to be a real statement of intent that they can keep up with it. Look, it won't be ideal for Newcastle. They'll have been on a run of like 5 games without a win, which would be pretty bad.
Yeah.
But like, they're still playing with house money to guess. They've still got a game in hand over other sides. Like, it's City away. It's arguably the hardest fixture. If they lose this, it's whatever. I think
Yeah.
if you're a Newcastle fan, you just move on with it. I wouldn't be too upset if I was them. So yeah,
I agree. So your score prediction?
1-0 City. Some stupid like Haaland header from a corner,
Yeah.
something like that.
I'll go 2-0 for City. I do think they'll be a little too strong, but yeah, it's kind of the most exciting match I would say. Otherwise, outside of that Liverpool Man U one, because going down the list, we don't get teams about this far away from each other in the table as often. So Arsenal in first, Bournemouth in 19th. Does Bournemouth give anything? Is there anything that tells you this isn't going to be like a 3-4-0 battering?
Well, so the one thing I would say is Hamid Traore has been fantastic for Bournemouth. I saw a stat. He's created the 4th most chances in the league. And the issue they had against City when they lost 4-1 was that they played 5 at the back and he just got overwhelmed every time he touched the ball. Because it was every time they got the ball going forward, he would be outnumbered by like, it'd be like him and Solanke up front, and he just wasn't given enough time and space to operate. If they decide to go for maybe a tiny bit more of an adventurous system, maybe play a 4-1-4-1, which Newcastle showed can really neutralize Arsenal. Maybe, I don't know how much more adventurous it is to be fair, but maybe they could get some joy going forward. But I can just see Arsenal have really shown they can grind out these lower sides, especially at home as well. You know, I think it'd be pretty hard for Bournemouth to get anything out of this game. It's going to be, especially Trossard has really helped them as well. He's really gotten a lot out of Martinelli because he's a lot more fluid. He can play that sort of false 9 that Jesus is playing. Nketiah wasn't quite as adept at that. I can't see this game being particularly close. No. It's probably like a 3-0.
Yeah, I'm going 3-0 Arsenal as well. So,
what about your side?
I said Chelsea.
Yeah, should we get into that one? The slightly more interesting game, I think.
Yeah, I would say
it's rivalry. It's kind of a rivalry, right?
I mean, you go back to the 70s. I think it was arguably the most violent English football match ever. I'm gonna find out when that was, but it was an FA Cup final, and it ended up being 1970. It had to go to a replay, and it was just brutal. It was a bloodbath out there. Players were just kicking the hell out of each other. A recent referee, like in the last decade, has gone back and watched it and said, yeah, if they were officiating the way we do today, there'd be about 5 players left on the pitch across both teams. So, but if you ever get a chance to research it, look up Leeds versus Chelsea FA Cup 1970.
The FA Cup final.
FA Cup final, yeah. And
wow, they had a replay of the final. That's wild.
And of course, it was I think we hosted the first leg. Ellen Road was a crap pitch, playing wise, so it was kind of all beneficial. Then Chelsea, we went back and were beat 2-1, 2-0 in the second one.
They loved that fucking replay. So I was having a look at it now.
I know it's
replays back in the day.
Yeah. The first one was at Wembley, and then it was at Old Trafford for the replay.
Nice. FA Cup final, the most brutal game in English football history.
That's just what it said.
Yeah.
I mean, I would take 3 points against them this time. They'd give us a season sweep, beat them 3-0 in that first meeting.
Yeah.
So that was when I thought we were actually going to be decent, and we're like second in the table after 3 matches.
It's kind of an interesting one. It's kind of like a movable object versus a stoppable force. Like Chelsea have scored.
This is 0-0 written all over it.
Yeah, Chelsea have scored like 6 goals in the league since the restart, but it's only conceded 25 in the entire. It's the second fewest or something like. They've conceded the second fewest goals in the league, so it's just going to be. Can't imagine it being a very interesting game if I'm honest with you.
I think it's going to be rather dire too. be
Yeah,
honest. But I mean, even looking back at that first match, Leeds did win 3-0 home to Chelsea. That first goal was more or less Mendy. The ball went back to him and he kind of whiffed at it. So Aronson just does a touch and then walks it into the back of the net.
I
And that
remember
was
that one.
1-0 right away.
It feels like an age away.
Oh, it
God,
was. Yeah, that was back in 21st of August.
wow.
So that was a third match of the season. Since
Yeah,
then, both teams have kind of continued being pretty poor. But I mean,
yeah,
if you're looking at the Chelsea aspect, this is one that you need to win.
yeah,
This is a very winnable match. If you've been struggling so much as of late, you need to get things going. Lost to Tottenham, lost to Southampton. Haven't won since beating Palace 1-0 in the middle of January. So over a month without a win, a month and a half without a win now. This is one that they really need to get if they're going to maybe save anything out of this season. And for Graham Potter, it's a great chance to play some creative minded players and try and break through that terrible Leeds defense.
Well, one of the interesting things as well is thinking about it stylistically, Chelsea play such calm, boring possession football, which they generate chances from, but they can't seem to bloody score them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like dynamic or transition based. Whereas Leeds play like sort of, and I know since Gracia has come in, they've probably toned that down a bit. But I remember when watching us versus them, they played like such headless chickens at times. They were pressing
Yep.
high. It was chaos ball. So just in terms of that aspect, how Potter's side, especially given they can't be the most mentally sort of resilient after all their losses and their terrible, and this is like accusation of being the worst Chelsea side in decades. Well, to be fair, that was like Mourinho's side in 2015-16. That
Oh
was
God,
woeful.
yeah.
Um, but like, I'm wondering just stylistically how they're going to match up. Like, will Chelsea be able to play through the Leeds press? Will Chelsea's they still have a significant amount of creative players? Will Chelsea's creative players be able to, you know, take advantage of the gaps once their players push up, like in
Mm.
transition? Will they be able to exploit them transitionally, or are they still going to default to that slow, like sort of cutback style of play? Like, I wonder how that's going to change things for Potter.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird to see because like this is one that you would think Chelsea should win on paper,
Mm,
but the way Chelsea have been playing, winless in at least their last five, it's
yeah,
not a good Chelsea side. And this is one that if Leeds can take advantage of this, make it two straight wins in the Premier League, I know the rest of the Leeds fans around the world will be feeling very, very much better than we do at the moment. Just give
yeah,
us a win like this, and that'll be two straight Premier League wins. Mounds of confidence coming in with Gracia.
yeah. I reckon it's going to be like a 0-0. I think as a
Yeah,
Leeds supporter, you'd probably take that right. Like I just can't, I don't know, unless like it's like some stupid Nonto long shot or something like that. I can't see you guys scoring, but I can't see Chelsea scoring really,
yeah.
unless maybe it could be a 1-0. I don't know. I just don't back. I have Jao Felix in my fantasy side, so I'd like for him to get a goal, but I'm
Own
not too.
goal, hopefully. No,
I'm not sure about
no, yeah, no.
that.
If Jao Felix scores an own goal, something is really wrong with Chelsea because
Yeah,
there's
well, I
no
don't know what he'd
reason
be
he should.
doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
There's no
I
reason
don't
he
know what
should be
he'd be
that
doing in
goal.
the box. Although
You need,
Chelsea are
you need to
absolutely
investigate
woeful at
him
defending.
for sports betting if
Yeah,
that happens.
are Leeds any good at scoring from corners?
No,
Chelsea are terrible at. Okay,
no,
well, that's probably not
we're probably in at least from watching all the Premier League teams. If there's one team you want to face with a corner kick, you want to face Leeds because
good. But no,
nine times out of oh
in
yeah,
terms
no,
of
I know.
scoring corners, because
Yeah,
Chelsea
no,
are
no,
terrible at
no, we're
defending corners.
atrocious. Nine
Okay,
times out of 10, the ball either goes into the first man at the
uh,
corner and gets cleared, or it goes about 5 yards past everybody. It's
okay.
very, very bad.
So no chances for Leeds there. Okay,
Don't expect it. We celebrate when we get a set score any sort of goal off corners. There was a point with
okay.
Bielsa that we scored, I think, one in a span of like 50 matches.
Oh
It was
goodness.
atrocious, and it
Oh
hasn't gotten any
goodness.
better. I mean,
Jeez.
look at the front three. Bamford's not exactly tall. Then you have Willie Nonto and Crescencio Somerville, who are both
Yeah,
hovering around like 5'6", 5'7".
little fellas.
You don't got much height up there to head
Yeah.
in the
I
corners.
thought
But
Bamford had some aerial ability. I remember him scoring a few headed goals.
yeah, I would give Rodrigo probably a better. Rodrigo would be a better target up there, but I think he's still out. No, I'm with you though. I think this will be a pretty dire match. 0-0, maybe 1-1. If
Yeah,
someone's going to win, it'll only be 1-0, and I just don't
probably
see
Chelsea.
yeah, I can see just with the home field advantage. I'm going to
Yeah,
go 0-0 as well. So this is not one you're necessarily going to watch. Is definitely
yeah. A lot
potentially
of
more
quite boring
interesting.
fixtures aside from
Yeah,
Liverpool City. Like Aston Villa, Crystal Palace is
that
another one I
one's
can't
just
see
I just don't see much
being.
happening there.
Yeah, I mean Watkins has been great. He scored five in the last five. Scored versus Arsenal, City. I mean, at the same time as well, Villa have conceded a lot of goals in the past few games as
True.
well. They conceded 11 goals against Leicester, City, and Arsenal. Now that is Leicester, City, and Arsenal, all of whom are a lot more explosive than Crystal Palace. Um, but there is a vulnerability there, which is a surprise because I think
I
Emery's
mean,
still excellent defensively, so I don't know.
yeah, and I would say Leicester's seemed like a fluke for them to score 4 goals, but
Yeah,
still, it's not like Palace has done much. They have 4 draws in their last 5, with the exception being a 2-1 loss to Man U.
yeah.
They'll expect very little. I expect very little from this match.
But they're so inert going forward. Like they insist on starting like Mateta and Jeffrey Schlupp, and they're just incapable of making the right decision. It's very frustrating every time I see it.
Yeah.
They just make terrible decisions. Lakonga at least has looked good. They sort of needed that. They really miss like a Gallagher type, and I think Lakonga could be that for Palace. But it's just they have on paper they have some really bright attacking options in Elise Eze, but
It's just,
Vieira just loves starting Schlupp and like I
yeah,
don't
I,
know.
I don't know. I don't know if Vieira is necessarily the right guy for
Well, he's
Palace at
taking
times. He's
Palace to
done
like
well, but
yeah.
it's,
They had a great season last year, um, and like they're solidly well. I was about to say solidly mid-table. They are only 2 points ahead of Nottingham Forest,
yeah,
um,
it's,
but still, it's hard to see them like getting dragged into that relegation battle.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
I mean, this one, Palace 12th, Villa 11th. It's very much that mid-table mediocrity. Two mid-table sides don't really have much to play for. Both pretty much safe. Both not going to make it to Europe. So
I see Villa. I think Villa have a bit more about them. Buendia's been coming off the bench, creating some stuff, scoring goals. Watkins has been great. I really like Watkins. I could see Villa getting something from this game. Like,
give me a Villa win and either a Leeds win or a draw, and then we see Chelsea fall into the bottom half of the table.
oh goodness, I'm sure you'd love that.
I
To be
mean,
fair,
I
I'd
think
love
I
that
think
as well.
most people would love to see Chelsea in the bottom half of the
I'd
table.
feel bad for Graham Potter. I like him.
Yeah, I feel bad for him. No one else though. You spent 400. You spent 600 million this year.
Yeah,
You
that's
can't be
ridiculous.
feeling too sorry for him, in my opinion. But we'll
Yeah.
move on. What's your score prediction for this
Oh,
one?
1-0 Watkins goal.
1-0
Maybe
Watkins.
a
Yeah,
penalty or something like that.
I could
I know
see it.
Crystal Palace are good defensively, so I can't see what Aston Villa tearing apart. Could easily be another 0-0. I'll give them
Yeah,
because it's at Villa Park. And my friend's a Villa fan. I'll throw them a bone and say 1-0 Villa.
yeah. I'll go 1-1. I do think if anyone is going to win though, it'll be Villa, but it just
Yeah.
has a draw written all over it. Moving on though, Brighton West Ham, another one that's relatively higher up team, which in Brighton who has been playing reasonably well, but kind of struggled as of late a bit. But
Mm.
I think
I think
what
West Ham shouldn't be at the relegation level. Like when you just look at the players on the pitch and what they've been able to like the performances they've
yeah,
been able to hit in previous years, they shouldn't be there. And I think it's starting to click. I think Lucas Paqueta is starting to look good. Fornals has sort of returned from his month long. He wasn't injured. He was just like ghosting through games. Ben Rama's looked good. Bowen has looked good, and these players are really important because they don't score away from home, and that's my one issue for this game. They scored 6 goals away from home all season. That's
yeah,
like shocking.
yeah. They have
Um,
the joint. They have the tied worst away record in the Premier League
yeah.
this year.
Danny Ings hopefully will help with that because I don't know how Antonio's sort of looked off the pace. Skamaka hasn't really played a huge amount. They just need better performances from. They need a new midfield as well. I really don't like Suchek. Um,
No,
I've got
absolutely.
nothing against the man, but there was that rather unsavory moment with one of the Czech Republic players in 2021. Um, but he's obviously not good enough. And it's really worked playing Paqueta alongside Rice because Rice is fine sitting. He's positionally disciplined. I don't know. Maybe I think he will play Souček as the aerial threat, I guess, but I don't know. I think that he's not good enough for the level West Ham want to be at.
Yeah, I agree. I think West Ham's away form is just not good enough in this one, and Brighton's
Yeah,
been good as of
they're,
the season. So I'm gonna
they're
back them to go like
yeah.
2-1. I'll say 2-0 maybe.
Yeah, I will say Brighton have been amazing recently. Like
Yeah, they've struggled a bit, but
Adam Lallana's going to be a big miss. He's one of the most creative players. McAllister is a good player, but like he's not quite the same level of creativity. I still think they'll be fine. I really like De Zerbi as a coach. The way he's like coached the sort of set play. What's the word again? Playing up from the back, automatisms, the patterns. They just look really good. And I'd like to see. I think it'll be a 2-0 as well. I don't see West Ham scoring.
I
I
don't
can't.
either.
Their defense is like it's not terrible. I don't think they're gonna be battered or anything. But it'll probably be like a 1-0 or 2-0. Wouldn't mind a
Yeah,
Matoma goal for my fantasy team.
no, that would be nice. No, I've already been talking with. I have a good mate from Arizona who's a West Ham fan, and we're already saying, yeah, we'll go see. We've always been saying, let's get to a Leeds West Ham match next year. We'll go see them in the championship. The way
Yeah,
it's going at the moment, but
it's cheaper.
yeah, exactly, easier to get tickets. That's for sure. But no, we'll move on to these other two on Saturday. We can kind of quick touch on them because I don't think there's overly too many talking points. Wolves versus Tottenham. We kind of talked a bit about Wolves. Tottenham still lose out in the FA Cup, another cup run over, another year
Yeah.
without a trophy.
Another year without a trophy.
Where's Harry Kane going? When's he going to Man U, do you think?
Well, I think if Sir Alex Ferguson had been managing the past decade, he'd already be at United.
Absolutely.
But yeah, look, I think when Romero and Kane aren't on the pitch, they just look so short of ideas.
Yep.
Richarlison really hasn't been the 50 million man you wanted him to be.
Son's
Kane
been
is
a
still
shadow.
fantastic.
Son's been
Yeah.
a shadow of himself
Yeah.
this season. Kane, yeah, like you said, Kane's always going to be great.
I mean, it does seem like defensively they've sort of turned a corner. Emerson Royale has sort of out of nowhere turned into an amazing player.
As soon as
Really
they signed
weird.
Pedro Porro.
Yeah, Pedro Porro, big money signing's been edged out like being, Emerson's showing levels, which is really odd. Dyer seems to lurch from defensive masterclass to odd mistake every game, but I think Wolves have that capacity to look really toothless at times, especially when Matthias Cunha isn't playing. I think he's so important to what they want to do. Like versus Liverpool, they were great off the ball. They didn't let Liverpool play through them, but they just didn't generate anything. I like some of their signs. Mario Lemina has been great. I think Sarabia unfortunately had a shocker. I think he really relies on a striker to provide service, like Cunha. So that was a big miss, I think. I think it's like a transition year for Wolves. I hope they stay up because I really like the idea of their project. I think Traore is probably going to go. Maybe they'll send him to Tottenham to be there. One of their wing backs.
I feel like you just said you're waiting for them to continue their project. I feel like we've been waiting for their project for a few years, it seems.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think with the new manager, he's got a clear idea.
yeah,
He wants to
that's
play
true.
like this fluid positional play where people interchanging in and out of zones, and people like Cunha, who's a very fluid, excellent on the excellent like build-up player, like takes really nice touches, really good flick-ons. He's really important to what Lopetegui, I really hope I'm pronouncing his name right, wants to do. I know he's not got a serious injury, but I'd love it if he was back for the Tottenham game because it'd be really important for what they want to do. I think at home, like I can't imagine them getting battered, but I feel like first half they're going to start strong, press high. Tottenham are going to struggle a bit. It's going to be 0-0. And then Wolves have just been dropping off a lot in these second halves. It looked really easy to play through against Liverpool yesterday. So I reckon it'll be like a 2-0 Spurs. Kane will pick up that moment of, pocket of space, have a moment of magic.
Yeah, I was going to say, give me 1-0 and a Harry Kane penalty.
Yeah, something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Like a Kulusevski dive or something like that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. He's barely touched and just,
Yeah.
But no, there's one more match on Saturday. And I think, to me, the funniest part of this is it's two teams just knocked out of the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Leicester City will be playing at Southampton. Leicester lost 2-1 to Blackburn Rovers in the championship this week. But even better, come on, Grimsby. Grimsby Town beating Southampton to knock them out of the FA Cup yesterday.
It's funny as well.
What is Grimsby League One still?
They're League Two.
They're League
Grimsby
Two.
are League
Oh,
Two,
yeah,
and what I
that's
find
right.
extra funny about this is Grimsby is so widely known as one of the shittest areas of England that Sacha Baron Cohen did a film
Oh, great
called
movie.
Grimsby
The brothers,
about
Grimsby brothers.
something about how shit it is as a place. One of our many shit places in England, and
Yes.
Grimsby stands out. So I find that aspect of it really
Oh, yeah.
funny.
It's just hilarious to see. And I mean, for those who don't know, it goes Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two. So this is a fourth division team beating a first division team. Southampton are screwed. I think I think everyone's admitted it. This is, give me Leicester in this one. Not pretty. Give me 1-0, but.
Yeah, like Southampton, they don't have many Premier League caliber players. Like I like Bella Kotchap, I like Romeo Lavia, I like Suleimana, but if you look at some of their players, like God, they have like some
I mean,
like I'll just read through. I don't want to like target Southampton, but it's just like shocking their recruitment. Well, let's look at the starting lineup for this guy. Like players like sort of Gineppo and like Armstrong, Perraud, like their centre backs. These guys are just really like poor players.
And that's to an extent that's my issue with Leeds is we have plenty of players that are good, but there's also so many players that are still not Premier League caliber at all.
Southampton, I think, are the most egregious example.
Oh, absolutely. Like, Elanusi, maybe.
Pardon?
Elanusi.
Oh yes, that guy's. Yeah.
That guy
stinks on the pitch.
Yeah, Ward Price has been decent enough. He's kind of their only hope at times.
It's like I like Ward Prowse. I like their new winger. He always looks good.
Armstrong?
No, Suleiman. I think he plays more as a striker, but I think he was originally a winger. Again, I like Lavia. I like Bella Kotchap.
I still forget they have Theo Walcott coming on.
Theo Walcott. I think Carlo Alvarez, 20-year-old, could be good, but it's just a lot of crap on this team. They need a year in the Championship to sort themselves out.
They need to sell some players, get some money in, and move on because they're not good. But another what's your prediction for this?
Well, for this one, I think Maddison's going to be back. Leicester are better away at home, which is really odd. I think it's going to be 2-0 Leicester.
Yeah,
Maddison bounce back game.
Yeah, I'll take I'll follow on that one. 2-0 Leicester. But
that's really going to be important as well because they'll be like 20.
That'll pretty much put Leicester safe, you would think.
I mean, they'll still have a few more games, but it's a really good fixture for them to get. It'll just be momentum building.
Exactly.
Then they get Chelsea at home as well. Like they've got a few like nice fixtures to separate.
Yeah, absolutely. But another one that has that relegation implications on Sunday: Forest against Everton.
Huge 6-pointer.
Yeah, I think loser this one. We've said that with many, but I think we think both Bournemouth and Southampton are all but down, and then I think it's one of either Forest, Leeds, or Everton will be that third team. So whenever these two of these three play each other, it's a huge match in my opinion.
Really important. I do think if Nottingham Forest lose this, they still got a chance of staying up because of how many more points they've got. They're on 25 right now, but it's like really important that they at least get something from this game and keep some distance from the bottom three. Mm-hmm. I will say it's really important for them that it's at home because they're so much better at home than they are. They scored 3 goals away from home this season. That's it.
Forest? That's it? Jesus.
I believe so. I mean,
that's pitiful.
Jesse Lingard's back,
Losing 4-0 to West Ham after drawing 1-1 with Man City. Tale of 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, it's like literally home form, away form. Like I will say, Everton are reasonably good at keeping the opposition out. They did a pretty job for 40 minutes, and Arsenal have a lot more quality than Nottingham Forest have. But like they've no outlet, they've no way of relieving that pressure. Who are they going to do? Whack the ball up to Neil Mopay? Like Ellis Sims? Like what are their options here? It just feels like they have to hope for a corner, hope James Tarkowski or like Connor Cody can get their heads on it and like cause chaos in the box. That's it. It just feels like they're such poor attacking options. It's such sort of negligence that they didn't try to sign a striker over the window.
Yeah, because I mean it's yeah, they're bad. They're just missing no option up top. No DCL is huge,
Yeah,
and I'm trying to find
he's,
out when he's coming back, but I don't even know
he's
if there's a
so
timetable for him.
it's so like is this the issue? They knew he was so like injury prone, and
They
they
didn't
just
sign
what
anyone.
yeah,
It's
they tried
insane.
for Danjuma, but I don't even think he as in terms of his talent ID. What's the I can't remember the word, but in terms of the way he plays, like his I can't remember the word. There's a
His
word that's perfect.
style.
Yeah, it's his style. It's something I can't remember. Fuck, that's
Oh,
gonna kill me.
oh well.
Um,
You'll
the way
remember
he
as soon
plays,
as we end this.
yeah, I'll remember just as we end. It's just not conducive to what Sean Dyche wants. Like Jan Duma's a great player, but he's not like man like a Chris Wood or a DCL. They needed someone. Chris Wood was available to buy. Nottingham Forest bought him that window. I don't know why they didn't go for him. It makes no sense. It's not like Chris Wood is like an earth-shatteringly good player. A profile, that's it. Like, he's not the right
Yeah, he
profile.
doesn't.
That's
Yeah,
the word I was looking for. They could have had Chris Wood, and I don't know why they didn't. It makes no sense. Nottingham Forest, like they've got some good players. I like Morgan Gibbs White. I like Danilo. Um, like feels like, especially given every time I see the Nottingham Forest pitch, it feels like the fans are right on top of the pitch. Like the stadium's quite a cool one. I'd love to go visit it sometime.
yeah.
I think the minute there's a mistake and Everton concede a stupid corner or they nearly concede a goal, the crowd's going to get really riled up and it's going to get right in Everton's head.
Absolutely. It's
Past
I
it.
had yeah. Sorry, if you cut out. There
Oh,
you
did
go.
I cut out? Oh yeah,
Oh,
my wife
very
was.
briefly. No, you're good.
Sorry,
But
continue.
we'll just say predictions for this one. I'm
Yeah,
thinking 1-0 Forest, maybe 2-1 Forest, just because I think they'll get a goal. The crowd will be up for it, and Everton will implode.
yeah. I reckon it'll be like a 1-0. Jayling's banger.
Oh, maybe Keylor
Everton.
Navas penalty.
Yeah, Keylor Navas penalty. I'd love that. Yeah,
That'd be
it's unfortunate for Everton because I like Sean Dyche, but I
yeah,
think this game's probably without DCL, it's a bridge too far.
absolutely. And that leaves us with one more match to talk about. We can kind of bounce on this quickly because we are running out of time, and I have to head out shortly. But Brentford Fulham on Monday. This one's definitely more interesting than you would think.
Yeah,
Because I mean,
London
you think
derby.
London Derby, what Fulham's sixth, Brentford's eighth. I want to
I think
say
they're ninth now.
ninth now. Oh yeah, they're one spot ahead of Chelsea.
I live right in London when I lived in London. I lived right in between these two grounds,
Oh really?
so that's
They're
so
not. Yeah, they're really not far from
very
each
close
other,
to
are
each other.
they?
Yeah, I don't think it's a very sort of. Well, although to be fair, Fulham did knock Brentford out in the Championship playoff in
Yeah.
2020. So a bit of bad blood there, maybe. Ivan Toney's fantastic. Brentford's defense is fantastic. They're such a well-coached side. David Raya is fantastic. And Buemo's like a good sort of like side star. Fulham, they're both really well-coached sides. I think Polinia is out for this game, and he's really vital to how Fulham want to defend.
Mhm.
I think Fulham also have a habit of overperforming their XG. Like,
I mean,
they rely on bangers. Versus you guys, the two
yeah,
goals they scored were absolute bangers.
and I mean the goal they scored last weekend was also a banger
Manor
against.
Solomon, same
Yeah.
goal, Ian Robin style.
Oh, it really was. It's the exact. If for anyone who's seen it or hasn't seen the replays, the goal he scored on Saturday or Sunday against Wolves was the exact same thing he scored it on Tuesday against Leeds in the FA Cup. Just beautiful goal. Like
Yeah.
hard to be upset again losing that, but
Like, to be fair to you guys, it feels like you guys created more than Fulham. Just felt Fulham were a lot more decisive and
hey,
like
that's the story of every single Leeds
yeah,
match this season.
yeah.
Is we make better opportunities, better chances, more of them, just cannot find the back of the net.
Yeah, I think Fulham, they've got that decisiveness. They're well coached. They've got some quality in Manuel Solomon. Willian's been rolling back the years with some of these goals.
Yeah,
I do think their luck's going to run out against Brentford. They're so defensively resolute. They're going to get a goal from an Ivan Toney, header or counter attack or something, and then once Brentford go 1-0 up, that's it.
That's
They,
it.
they
They'll
have
just
a
sit
stranglehold
back
on the
and
game.
yep.
Yeah, they're really good game management. So I see
So
this as a 1-0 Brentford win.
1-0 for Brentford. I'll just be contradictory on this last one. I'll go 1-0 Fulham. Why not?
Wanker.
I was born about 3 blocks from Craven Cottage, so
Whereabouts?
let me pull it. It's like, oh man, something shit. Well, I can find
Was
it
it
on the
Charing
map.
Cross Hospital?
No, I was actually born at home under the Christmas tree because it
Oh shit!
allowed my mom to drink wine. It was the only doctor we could find to have wine while I was born. So explain some
Oh,
stuff, but
yeah.
no, it was. Oh man, where is it? There's Fulham. Oh shit, I can't find it right now.
What's the
But it
name
was
of the
a.
street?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Oh, okay.
Bronzart Road.
Runs that road. Okay.
Yeah, 12 Bronzart
Whereabouts in
Road,
Fulham
where
is
I
it?
was born. So
Is it near
it's
Bishop's Park? Oh, we can speak about this
yeah,
later.
yeah.
I'm
But
just
no,
curious.
it is
Yeah.
right next to Lily Road Recreation Ground.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh
Yeah,
shit.
by
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I used to just
Fulham
down the road from
Cemetery.
Hammersmith Station. Yeah,
Yep.
I used to that was where I went to school, Hammersmith.
Yeah,
Oh, would you look at that?
yeah. Small
Um,
world.
Small world.
But
Um,
no, I think I'll back Fulham because of that reason.
okay.
But
Fair
no,
enough.
otherwise, is there much else you want to? Anything else you want
No,
to say before we kind of wrap this up?
no. Come on, United.
Yeah, both
That's it.
Uniteds. No.
That's all I'm thinking out. Not Leeds
Yeah.
United, Man United.
Okay. No. But yeah, no, that's kind of it for us. Check out all of our stuff on the Vendetta Sports Media website, our YouTube page, our Twitter account. Reach out to Will on Twitter at Will Scott Sports, LLT. Reach out to me on Twitter at JerryF007 because we want to hear your thoughts and we like hearing from you guys who listen and so forth. But thanks for watching. See you next week. We're going to continue doing this format of 2 episodes a week. So double the content that we'd usually be bringing you, plus the stories we're getting out. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.